Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a track from an act named TC or TC1 titled Trackstar. And if we switch over to here, we've got a salute to Mooski for making a crazy banger with Trackstar. Such a dope track, and I wanted to drop some of my energy on it. Hope if you hear this you get good vibes and good energy. Follow my Instagram, Ashton Burrell. Ashton Burrell is the real name, and then TC is like the stage name as I understand it. Because of course this is a Mooski remix. So we're going to be listening through this track from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Let's do this. Just got to wait for the escape to exit full screen button to go away. Oh damn. Interesting tone to the piano. Is that filtered or is it just the natural state? I'm curious.
Made it this far. Said I grind. Then made it this far.
Let's just stop. Let's just stop here. Yeah, because this is off of Grind Hard. So this is Trackstar Mooski remix Grind Hard by TC. Cool. It's the clarity of the vocals is fantastic. It's an interesting move to have 30 seconds without getting into the story. But I suppose at the same time, if it's a remix, but also if you can still kind of peak the engagement by like, oh wait, what's this? What's going to happen? It works just as well. It's cool, man.
I'm a grinder and I grind hard. Say what? Can give a baby made it this far. Say what? Way past the whips in the shiny car. Can't worry about you, ain't tryna get on. I'm a grinder and I grind hard. Can give a baby made it this far. Way past the whips in the shiny car. Can't worry about you, we tryna get on. Hey, thanking God.
I'm really enjoying, just before we continue, the fact that we're kind of summarizing our approach here, but it's done in sort of a healthy way. I mean, how do I say it? Basically, when I listen to this track, I hear someone who's just appreciative for the work that they've put in and how it's paying off, right? That's as simple as it is. Just, you know, they've been working their butt off and they're able to enjoy it. And the music with the vocal chops and the little piano parts and the bass and the drums and everything like that is just kind of, in a chilled, sophisticated way, celebrating that.
Another day. Oh man, the man ain't made another way. Oh damn, I just made another wave. Even though I want more, do I want to pay? Pay could be a sacrifice, not sure what's insight, but believe that I know what's in sight. Keep the pressure in the circle in tight. Keep the faith in God and it's going
Good job.
right. Make sure the message send right. You could tell that this pen right. Make sure my little brother good in the pen right. Restless night, guaranteed a date with midnight. Gotta stand tall, folding won't sit right. Cause I'm a reflection of all my kin right. I guess everyone is perfect, ain't sin right. Only God could judge me, dog. I say it with mic pop, looking down like, boy, my kid lit right.
I like how he's talking about supporting his brother by pen, is in the penitentiary or something like that. And talking about his, I assume his father is looking down because his father may have passed away. I'm not sure. It's kind of being aware of what you need to take care of and sort of rising up despite the difficulties that you have and making the most of your life despite the struggle, you know. And I kind of appreciate, I think a lot of people will be able to appreciate in their own ways, of course, what where TC is coming from with this.
Can give a baby made it this far. Way past the whips in the shiny cars. Can't worry about you, we tryna get off. I'm a grinder and I grind hard. Can give a baby made it this far. Way past the whips in the shiny cars. Can't worry about you, we tryna get off.
I mean, like, I also appreciate the changes in the vocal textures here. I think there's a bit of vocal modulation going on in those chorus parts. All the it's kind of rhythmic sort of percussive devices from the vocals on the left and right sides of the stereo field. One thing I also need to notice before, when we just had the second half of the verse, everything just dropped out and we just had the bass, or like the low end resonance. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. It's a great way of shifting up the theme to go back to its root note, but without sort of making it sound too empty. You know what I mean? It kind of gives TC a platform to speak their truth on.
Tryna get out. Tryna get out. Get right. Get out. I'm a grinder and I grind hard. Can't give up, baby, made it this far. Way past the whips in the shiny car. Ain't worry about you, we tryna get off. Tryna get off.
They gon' bump this everywhere, man.
Tryna get off.
This
Way past the whips in the shiny car. Ain't worry about you, we tryna get off.
I mean, there's a lot going on. It's kind of a ballsy move to have like two people kind of, one in the center sort of singing the hook, and then having another running sort of backwards and forwards in the stereo field in the background. But at the same time, if you're already familiar with that hook line, you don't really need to focus on it as much because you've heard it before. So that leaves you room as a listener to go backwards and forwards. So I think you can do that as a development, but only after you know the listener has gotten the gist of it.
Yeah, that's good.
They made it this far. Worry about you, we tryna get out.
It's kind of distracting me a little bit, though. Like, I appreciate what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make it interesting. Oh, look, the vocals are going backwards and forwards. I'm not trying to be disparaging or patronizing here. It's just... I just kind of want to sit with the theme a little bit, you know, because it's a very pretty theme. Because it's enjoyable. And see, now it's very, very empty. Which is an interesting choice here. Because you have a really strong musical motif here, a theme, and then to kind of, you could have potentially had the two vocal parts split across them, kind of had the one in the center and then them panning in the sides at the end. And then you could have maybe had like the end like this with just the 4 bars of instrumental, and then you would have been done. But that's just me being very picky and pedantic. It's not something that I think that TC should necessarily change. I think that they've got a track here that, which to be clear, this was, you know, Grind Hard by TC. This is the Trackstar Mooski remix. It's a good song. I enjoyed it. It's just, yeah, how do I say it? I just question stuff as being a reviewer, you know. A lot of it's subjective. But it's effectively my conclusion of this review of Grind Hard by TC, or the Trackstar Mooski remix. When we've talked about what the song's about, I think it is about TC letting us in a little bit more, explaining who he is as a musician, what his life's like, his gratitude towards the place that they're in, because they could never imagine they'd get this far. Talking about how their communication with their family and everything like that, the journey that they've gone on, some of the struggles, and just, you know, again, that thankfulness, that's a beautiful thing. And I think part of the reason why the main motif is so gentle and kind of bright and compassionate is because of that. It's the motif, the accompaniment makes sense with the vocals, with the story at least. That makes it enjoyable for the listener. They don't got any cognitive dissonance going on. Additional to that, you know, we have a musician here who can sing and can rap. The flow in those verse bars was dope. You know, the words came through clearly, very, very consistent phrasing of it. Very obvious experience on the mic. The story that was told was, you know, it was compelling, and it sounded authentic through TC's efforts. And I think that comes from showing a bit of vulnerability as a musician, which is something that even experienced musicians sometimes struggle with, because it's like, how much do you really want to show? But I think we got enough from TC in this situation with Grind Hard. And often it can be the case of people saying to people, yo, you need to keep grinding and stuff like that. You know, you need to keep working, etc. But it's more like, I think in this one, it's like, no, I've done that and I can sit here and kind of smile about it now. There's still work needs to be done, but this is good. This is good progress. So I enjoy that aspect of it. The structure of this track was interesting. Like, I know I was talking about how we had like multiple vocal takes at once and kind of flipping between them at the end. And then we had like a lot of the instrumental backing at the end. You know, that aside from me being sort of picky and pedantic about that and wanting like one vocal and then the next, and then having the one at the end. I didn't write this song, so I'm not going to tell TC how to live their life. But also, everything else was spotless. You know, I loved how the intro came in. Again, it was kind of interesting to have the vocals be somewhat, but you know, the Grind Hard hook came in within those 30 seconds. And it has piqued my interest primarily because of that. It's because it's so unusual in rap and hip hop nowadays to have someone not be desperate for your attention off the bat and kind of throw themselves at you through like a verse or a hook or something like that. It shows that they're comfortable and they're confident. And I think that's a really cool thing with music. You know, music in modern days, you need to have confidence, especially in a genre like this. But there was like one main motif that was repeated throughout and taken away from sometimes. You know, even if you had the bass line, even if you had the instruments could have removed themselves, the bass line remained similar, and you could easily go between those two different ideas. And I think that's really all you need in a 3-minute track. You know, if you overcomplicate a shorter track with too many sections, it either becomes progressive by default, in which case you're going to need to justify those progressions there, that potential chaos, or what you're going to need to do is maybe just not, it's just going to become too much. And so I think that by keeping one theme, if it's one sort of side of the story being told, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, outside of this structure here, we had what do we have? We had the piano, bass, some vocal chops in the background, maybe some other synth parts there, and some some other track vocals. It's interesting because I feel like we had enough without needing to insert more. I think it would have overcomplicated the vibe of it. Obviously, there was a vocal focus in this arrangement. The performance was solid. I don't think there was a note out of place, you know. It's definitely competent. I think the right hand on the piano there, bum 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 bum, is a pretty thing that I think the song would have been lacking if it didn't have that little bit of nuance there with that voicing. Glad that it was above the octave that TC sung in. I think that was a smart move there. It's fascinating stuff. I definitely think it's a great first impression. I would like to see what they do in future, because what do you do beyond grind hard? Like, where do you go beyond that? Do you talk about going back onto it? I'm being genuine here. Like, I'm trying to figure out the thematic, the journey we're going to go on with the storytelling. It will be interesting. Sometimes I get rappers and hip hop artists, they come in and they sort of put themselves in a box because the stuff they're discussing is so rigid, especially if they get an album and they're just talking about that one thing. But then they make the mistake of having the next single about that same thing. It's like, no, you did an album on that. If you make another commercial release and it's the same thing, people are just going to assume that's all you want to talk about. So we'll see where TC goes next with that. But yeah, not another place. It was a relatively neutral theme, but I think it was what was needed to illustrate the calmness and tranquility that TC was feeling at that point in time. Finally, the recording, mixing, mastering, the production. It was, the vocals were recorded well, had a nice clarity to them, effects changes on them were great. The rest of the instruments were EQ'd well as well. Nice effects. The effects changes on most of the parts were good. You know, it was well balanced and polished and sounded ready for distribution. The stereo panning of the various instruments mix was good as well. Again, I wasn't totally sold on how frenetic like some of the automation panning of the vocals were near the end, but that's just something that, you know, we wanted to do in the song, and that's okay, you know. I'm glad it wasn't any faster than that. I think we you know, I get why, from a quote-unquote groove perspective, why we were doing that. And it did retain interest, for sure. It's okay. Outside of that, I mean, limiting compression was fine. You know, it was nice and loud without pumping. Yeah, and things were glued well together and mixed. Leveling was fine. It was good. You know, it's a good, again, this is my review of TC's Grind Hard, the Trackstar Mooski remix. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I mean, if you did, please do go check out TC various social medias and their YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands Out.